This episode covers it all: labor challenges, shrinking margins, rising costs, financial controls, marketing that works, and competition, keeping ahead of the competition. My guest today is Alex Sadowsky. He's the Vice President of Training, Culinary, and Beverage for Ojos Locos Sports Cantina. We'll be talking all the standard operating procedures of any successful restaurant. This is hard-won experience from in the trenches. That's what Alex is dishing out, so stay tuned. Alex, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. Appreciate being on.
Ojos Locos Scratch Kitchen. You are Vice President of Training, Culinary, and Beverage, so you got quite a bit of responsibility. Training being part of your title and purview. Let's talk about onboarding and training new team members. What's that process like? What do you look for in hires? Do you hire for experience? Do you hire for approach and attitude and personality? And then what happens once you get them?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question right there for everybody, right? So we really have always been going for attitude, right? We want that kind of authentic flair. We call it coqueta service, right? So it's that kind of Latin hospitality that you can't teach. It needs to be innate. I can teach you how to serve. I can teach you how to be hospitable a little bit, right? But if that's not built into you, man, is it hard. So that's what we're really looking for. And then we're trying to get rid of every barrier you can imagine to make that happen. So digital interviews, Zoom, in person, whatever it takes. We're trying to make the managers' lives easier and the servers' lives easier.
Fantastic. So now that you've decided on getting a new person in the door and recruiting them and making them part of your company culture, what's the onboarding like? Do you do any mentoring and shadowing? Is there any kind of a buddy program? It's like, how do you introduce them to the brand, what you're looking for, the hospitality you wish to impart on the staff so that they impart it on the guests, all that kind of thing? What happens?
Absolutely. So it is a buddy system. Honestly, we in the past didn't do a great job at it. So it's one of my big initiatives in the coming up year to make sure that we really make this happen. We are blessed. We have a lot of employees that have worked for us for 10 plus years. So obviously the brand resonates with our employees. It works. So how do we just start shouting from the rooftop that kind of tribal knowledge and spreading it out? I have some great trainers all in different regions that can do that, open up restaurants, but as well as kind of that mentorship. And we really want to make it as close to one-on-one as possible, but at whatever pace the individual wants it to be.
Mhm.
So the big thing that we're shooting for is how do we give the path from server all the way to GM or area director and up, right? We have lots of opportunities at our corporate office. We just want to empower everybody. If they want to, they can do whatever they want. So how do you kind of do that 1-day program, 3-day program, 1-week program? But if they want to complete it in a day, and they want to test out and learn everything and crunch it all, go write it. We're not going to stop you.
So that's amazing. So you probably have, well, you mentioned longevity. So you've got people that have been there 10 years plus, which probably they're raving fans of your brand. They love working in your organization. They probably bring in new people that are looking for new gigs too, right? So that's the recruiting piece. And then once that happens, then I'm hearing that there's a balance between people that want to move up and find new opportunities and those people that love the position they're in and they do a great job at it, and you wouldn't have it any other way. Would you say that's true?
That's absolutely true. So
Mm.
I don't want to shoehorn somebody into a job they don't want to do, but I also don't want to hold somebody back.
Fantastic. And so you recognize talent. That's true leadership for sure. Recognizing talent, nurturing, developing, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about accountability, because when I travel to restaurant and food shows and I speak across the country, I talk to a lot of restaurateurs, and a lot of times they're saying, why don't people show up on time? Or why do they call in sick? Or why does it feel like we need them more than they need you? And that's a culture problem. And there's a breakdown there. How do you ensure accountability in your company?
I think you're spot on. That is a breakdown of culture. So and that's kind of a loaded word too, right? How do you instill culture? It's every day. And it's the little things. It's the soft skills, right? It's asking somebody how their day is. Do you remember their kids' names, right? Do you remember, hey, their brother plays soccer, right? It's all those little tiny soft skills day in, day out that make it or break it. And it really sets apart the truly great people from somebody that's just trying to go through a checklist and make it through. And I think once you really crack it, right? That's what the beauty of the restaurant industry is. It's like you're on stage, you're performing. So it's if you can get that magic to happen, man, does it feel good. And it's addictive.
It really is. Long hours, hot kitchens, all that kind of stuff, really demanding workplaces in some cases. Yet it's that camaraderie, it's that team spirit, it's the friendships that you meet, it's meeting new people on the floor. All those things are just addictive in this business, and it's really a business of passion. So we talked about some positives. You've got longevity of team. Do you have any labor challenges? Rising costs, of course, labor shortages, lots of restaurants are still reporting. Is that happening at all, or are you relatively avoiding that? Work with some of the best minds in the business, in the restaurant space. Amy Oikel and I are putting together an operator mastermind, operators just like you, solving today's most pressing operating challenges. We're going to be talking about labor, shrinking margins, big needle movers, leadership, accountability, and getting the most out of your operation. Meet twice a month, and we're going to talk all about the things that matter most for your business. You'll have a chance to talk about your personal challenges. You're going to hear from other operators with their best practices and solutions. We're going to give you immediately actionable ideas to improve your business. If you're interested, limited time, limited number, it's 15 people only, curated group. Go to restaurantrockstars.com for more information, and we hope to work with you.
No, it's a big problem. We live it every single day. And it's not just us, right? We're all kind of in this together. I take the mindset though that there's no way out of it. I don't like the idea of all of the robots and trying to get rid of jobs. I want to find the people to fill those jobs because I think you need that human touch.
Are there any recognition and rewards programs for outstanding performance? It's like that's all part of the culture as well. Like what keeps people inspired and motivated and like working toward a common goal?
Absolutely. And it's as little as, making lunch for everybody. We still believe in staff meals. The old school stuff works
Well, yeah.
all the way up for, World Cup tickets, trips, that sort of thing. But really, I want to make sure there isn't this huge barrier to get it too. So I like the little tiny rewards as long as and along with the big rewards, right?
How about margins? Are they shrinking? Are you maintaining them? How are you offering value with rising costs and not continually raising prices? Or do you have to do that? Like, give me that balance.
So we have done pretty well on the margin side, actually, because we're blessed with really strong bar sales, which helps offset kind of everything, right?
For sure.
Top line hides everything. So, but we're really trying to tackle kind of the value proposition part by offering really good specials, partnering up with a lot of vendors, trying to figure out a way in order to drive that value proposition while maintaining those margins. So really delicate balancing act, right? How do you sit there and look at traffic and still try and drive that bottom line, that margin, because that's what pays the bills?
What are the KPIs that you monitor pretty regularly and your general managers in the stores are watching every single week just to keep costs in line and keep profits where they need to be?
We're trying to run it almost like an independent restaurant. So we're just looking at the prime costs all day, every day.
Great.
We're trying to get them in a place to have them be able to do real time, as close to real time P&Ls as possible. So right now we're down to weekly. We might be able to get to daily through theoretical, through versus actual, getting your invoices in, scanning them in, finding different digital ways to take that off of their plate, right? But really it's how can you tell what's happening in your business as close to real time as possible is what's going to save us. So the KPIs, just like everybody else, right? We're really living by food cost, beverage cost, labor, traffic. We're really monitoring overall. Just we'll give certain stores kind of as task force stores some different KPIs, but the turnover, manager training, how many people have they developed? How many people are we bringing up? Huge swath for a manager to take care of, right? But when you get down to it, it's really that prime cost of goods, labor, and then we can figure out the rest for them.
So let's talk about systems and important systems like inventory control and waste reduction and effective ordering. Like there's a system for that. How would you describe that passed down to each individual location. And do they report, do the GMs report back to you, or is that another person in the chain? Catering is a powerful profit center for your restaurant. But are you still juggling catering orders through email, phone calls, and scattered messages? Guess what? Your customers notice. One missed detail, one wrong delivery, and suddenly a new or even repeat customers ordering from your competitor. Rally Catering puts all your orders in one place, online, organized, and accurate. Your team know what to do. Your customers can order anytime. Say goodbye to chaos and say hello efficiency. Stop losing orders. Keep customers happy. Make catering simple with Rally Catering. Get a free demo at rallycatering.com/rockstars.
Nope, they report to me as well. I help with all of that stuff because I happen to be one of the younger people on the executive team. So if it's got a cord to it, I probably have to help fix it. Because we're a scratch-made kitchen, it's pretty complex. So we're trying to take that complex world, that whole menu bar, making everything from scratch daily, and how do we get that into those different layers? We're using R365 right now for inventory. Really works out great. But when you get down to it, it's all based on the old pen and paper, clipboards, menus, and the individual recipes, right? So it's all kind of baked into those things. How are we getting the product in raw, or what case size is it? Then we're breaking that entire system out. How many lemons do you get? How many limes do you get? How many cases do we have to juice today, right? And we're trying to make that be as teachable and easy for the managers to understand. So I'm going to them and saying, kind of, hey, here's this recipe, make it for me. And then we're trying to see what the pitfalls are or those barriers are in that. How do we change our wording, right? In the inventory system. Hey, your day is busy. Mondays are rough. You're going to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and start counting stuff. What do I do to save them an hour or 30 minutes? And how can we help centralize something, right? How can I get an accountant to help us cover all 35 stores, save each manager an hour of their day on that Monday? Invaluable. Totally worth that person's salary here at the office. So literally everything that we're looking at is from that lens, even including music, TVs, the management of them during big sporting events. We are trying to figure out how best can we keep a manager on the floor managing, not necessarily taking care of this administrative stuff. There is some that they have to do just because they're the frontline worker, but how do we keep them managing?
Well, I always used to say your office is on the floor. It's not in the back office, and it's absolutely true. Sure, there's some administrative duties that have to happen, but literally when the guests are there, you're there and you're ensuring a great experience. You're overseeing I call it the business of 1,000 details. I talk about it all the time, and it really is. And you know what I'm talking about when I say that. When you have scratch made everything, is it more labor intensive? And how are you finding that balance with cost of goods and labor based on your approach to putting out the best quality product you can?
It absolutely is more labor intensive. I think that we do get credit silently or vocally, right, from the guest because of that authentic, we call it comida casera, that taste, right? That home cooking. You can't really put your finger on it necessarily, but you know it's that much better than getting the stuff that's coming out of a jar or package. It's really helped our margins, right? As far as cost of goods go, but you're paying a little bit more for the labor. So how do we really balance that labor efficiency, especially in the kitchen? And it's just all those systems kind of we touched on a little bit, right? From what piece of equipment are we going to have? What location does it look like? What does your walk-in look like? All of that kind of building out and saving steps and efficiency needs to be built in from the beginning.
I think you can also frame it as part of marketing because again, that reputation that you've built, the scratch made, your guests appreciate it. They talk about it. It's social media. It's like people come back for that. So it's got a marketing value, even if it's a little bit more labor intensive. So I think it all offsets. So I think you're doing the right things there.
And it really, I mean, like during COVID, it proved out, right? It saved us because we could get the raw material, but necessarily the manufacturers that were making this stuff, they were all shut down. So we're our own manufacturer. We're making our own tortillas. We're making our own salsas, right? Just get me some onions, tomatoes, give us a knife and let us run.
Do you have a lot of control over menu development? Is that a real big part of your job?
Real big part and more of the menu strategy, long-term innovation. It's kind of what I've always really loved about this industry, right? Is that what are the trends coming down? What are some of the local guys, smaller independent restaurants? What are they doing great? What's the next big thing, right? How do you get to have the birria tacos, the quesadilla 3 years before everybody else? And when you hit one of those things, it's another one that's addicting. You're like, oh man, I was right. God, I'm just nailed it. Um, you have some misses, right? But everybody's going to have it when you're trying to stay a little bit more on the edge. But really, we do have a tight menu. I want to keep the core pretty tight. We're sub 30 items right now. And I think it's a pretty sweet spot. We're really efficient. When you see kind of the overall produce and food that we have coming in, almost nothing frozen except French fries and ice cream, right? And it's tight. So how do you take those current SKUs you have, turn them into something new that's really trending? Regional Mexican cuisine is going up more and more. So how do we tap into that? More Latin, broad Latin flavors trending up huge. How do we tap into that? That's the stuff that I really love to do.
Wow, you're making me hungry. That's fantastic. So again, it's cross utilization of ingredients across multiple menu items. There are staples that are tried and true, rock solid. You never take them off the menu because your guests would kill you. But there are new items that come in from time to time. Any LTO type things? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. And we're trying to stay as the least amount of chainy as possible is how I would put it.
Excellent.
Right. So
Yeah,
I'm,
stage.
I'm telling
Go ahead.
I'm telling these guys, right? Like, hey, we can do a regional thing for your city. Like in LA, we're about to run a new LTO just for them because it's what every restaurant has in LA, right? We're looking here in Dallas and Houston, just launched crawfish. You have to have it all during Lent. You have to have crawfish. So how are we going to make it the best we can and give it that cantina kind of flair to go along with it? Let's do it. So really, we're looking at kind of that decentralized LTO platform as kind of our test bed for new items that might hit the menu permanently. So how do we get that LTO clock going? What threshold does it hit? What do sales look like? Does it have a broad enough reach? Can we roll that onto the permanent menu, take away some of those dogs that are on the menu and just keep this thing fresh, but still a very small, very concentrated menu?
What's the testing process like? Do you involve like really raving fan guests to say, hey, what do you think of this menu item? Is it kind of a focus group thing? Or do you try it against the corporate committee and say, what do you think? Like, what's the process there between rolling something new out and thinking it's going to go to all the locations and be a hit?
We are trying to fight desperately to not do the corporate committee thing because the brilliant part of it is all of our people here in the office know that they're not our core consumer. So you have to have food in front of people that are regulars, that are your guests, and you have to listen to them. They're going to tell you how they feel about everything. So how do you just get that feedback and listen to it? I've had really good success with kind of a normal stage gate process, like some of the big companies use, running through a focus group, running through a tasting panel, knowing what those trends look like. It can give you a pretty good magic 8 ball, but nothing beats real life food going to a guest and getting their feedback.
Terrific. That's a great approach. Total winning approach. Let's talk about technology and necessary tech. Are you using AI to any degree?
Absolutely. And we're trying to leverage it even more and more, really to, again, just be as efficient as possible, right? So how do we take and combine all of our spreadsheets? How do we start breaking down analysis? How do we solve for that kind of emails, just time sink for some of these people, right? 500 emails, 600 emails in a day. And can you use AI to break it out, respond to half of them, or just bring it to somebody's attention and speed that up? We are rolling out digital recipe books, iPad based, with videos, pictures to all locations. It'll eventually be in the bar as well. And all of training will live on that. So our learning management system, little test modules, things like that, we already had that digitized, but this is going to be way more in somebody's hand, way more kind of TikTok-y, generation friendly, right? Smaller chunks, really easy to digest.
Any other technology that's driving business or making things more efficient for your guests or your team?
I mean, we're really trying to leverage a lot of the AI stuff too on the supply chain side, which I think will help a lot of issues, at least spot, a potential issue ahead of time so we can get on a phone with a good old fashioned person and say, hey, it looks like you need a truck on the road right now. And we're spotting the error before it gets to the restaurants. So I think we're going to see a lot more efficiencies come down on supply chain side, as well as kind of that the inventory stuff, all that back of the house officey things, whatever we can do to automate, the better.
So, Texas, there's probably quite a bit of competition in that state as well as in other states because obviously Mexican is a hot concept. I had a Mexican cantina myself back in the day, and it was such a fun thing to, walk in the door and, experience the vibe. And I'm still a big fan of margaritas. I'm just curious about the competition. Do you monitor a competition? You play your best game, but stay ahead of what they're doing, but you always got to know what they're up to, right?
You have to have your finger on the pulse of what everybody else is doing. And I think it's really healthy to have some aspirational competition ideas as well, right? So if you are saying, okay, for us, you're a sports cantina, you know, what does that look like? Well, what is the fine dining Mexican restaurant doing as well? Are they doing something cool? Can we get some ideas from them? Can we pick that out and turn it into something that works for our own brand? I like to get down to Mexico at least quarterly if I can, because I want to go to the cantinas there. What's going on? What's happening? What's trending there?
Serve a favorite place in Mexico you like to go? Do you go back to the same place? Do you travel the country?
I've traveled pretty much everywhere, every single state, every single city. I love Mexico City itself because it concentrates all of those cuisines to be able to be way more approachable. But man, it's hard to beat when you're sitting in Oaxaca having some mezcal, and it's really hard to beat when you're sitting in Michoacan eating some carnitas on a street cart from somebody's family that's been doing it for 100 years. So I think it's Mexico City as often as I can, but then every once in a while, at least once a year, get out, go see a cool little city, go talk to the locals, drink a beer, hang out with them. Can't be beat.
Awesome. That's all part of the culture, and it all comes back to your brand. Do the stores do their individual marketing, or do you have corporate marketing programs that they all follow?
We like to do both, right? Because kind of what we've talked about, these individual communities, you got to keep it pretty local. So we have a local store marketing team that involves the servers, and we really get out there. Then we'll do some other corporate stuff kind of higher level, but we really like to pile onto that local stuff because it's what's really driving the traffic and making people fall in love with the brand and come back 2, 3, 4 times a week.
It's a cantina and sports bar. You must sell a lot of beer. Are they mostly Mexican beers, or do you have a cross section of, variety?
Variety. And it really is driven by the local market. We've seen a downturn in craft beer overall, but that's kind of the overall industry right now. But we sell every normal beer that you could imagine. We do lean a little bit heavier to the Mexican stuff, but man, do we sell quite a bit of American beer, shockingly to
Yep.
me,
Yeah.
as I came on board.
And draft and bottle, or just draft?
Draft and bottle, and almost a 50-50 split. And we're really seeing a growth in cocktails as well. So, I mean, we knew margaritas were going to do great, but man,
Yeah.
some of these times we're running specials on some of these, high-end tequilas, things like that. It's just mind-boggling the amount of drinks that we're selling right now.
There's an overall decline in our industry of alcohol sales, right? They're saying that people are going toward mocktails, or sometimes they're drinking only on weekends. And then when they go out in the middle of the week, it's like they're having non-alcoholic beers or non-alcoholic wines. And then there's a big trend toward that. Are you seeing much of that?
In our brand, no.
No?
Now, I've lived it in a previous life, definitely saw it.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is that it's more of the premiumization, right? So it's people saying, I'm going to go out and I'm going to have 2 or 3, but they're going to be good. And it's going to be with good tequila if I'm doing tequila, or I'm going to get a ice cold, big beer, the beer that I want.
So when you say a big beer, are there unique vessels or glassware that you're using as part of your program? Tell us about that, because that's a hook unto itself as well.
Absolutely. So we take draft beer super seriously. We have frozen mugs all the way up to 22 ounces. That mug has to live 2 days in the process to be frozen to get it to your lips. So
Wow.
just know that if you're having that beer, that has been in a process for 48 hours before it got to you. Super serious. We also call ourselves the Casa de Ballones. So we have soccer balls and giant beer towers on every single table, 60 ounce or 100 ounce. And it's really unique. We'll bring out those frozen mugs with you, but it adds to that kind of party vibe.
What does hospitality mean to you, Alex?
Always go back to, how did my grandma make me feel when you sat down at her table, right?
Well,
So I had a mentor way back when that would say, it's like you're going to your grandma's house and she's going to wrap you in a warm blanket on a cold night. That's what hospitality feels like to me. It's different for everybody, right? But I think that that kind of really resonates. It's, how do you make somebody that's having a bad day turn it around just from you helping them one way or another, whether it's helping them with a cold beer or getting them the food they want, or just simply saying, hey, Roger, glad you're here. Sometimes that can turn somebody around.
what's the history of the brand?
So we started here in Dallas in 2010, and really it was meant to serve the Hispanic market that was really underserved here at the time. It's no really Latin sports bar existed here, but the founders love Mexico, go there all the time, and they love that cantina vibe, right? That party, everybody's having a good time. You can it's the cheers part, but with the Mexican heritage, right? So you leave it all at the door, you walk in, everybody knows your name. It's awesome. And really, we've taken that and run. We're up to 35 locations right now in 5 states, and we're going to keep growing and keep pushing into some new territory. But we're going to maintain that kind of authentic sports cantina everywhere we go.
It's a really good combination. And you're bringing me back to college when I was in a fraternity, and one of my fraternity brothers actually had a condominium on the beach in Acapulco. And we did spring break there twice. And that was the whole vibe. It's like right down the street were a dozen of these cantinas, and you walk in and it's a combination of locals and tourists, and the bar is like packed, and the beer is flowing and the margaritas and all that kind of stuff. And then the food is so authentic. So I'm hearing that there's authenticity also behind the food, and you're clearly involved in the culinary side. Let's talk about that. The menu itself and the authentic traditions of Mexican cooking and cuisine, the Latin heritage. How true to the brand is that, and how important is it?
It's incredibly important, and we're just going to keep pushing even further into it, right? So I don't think we ever really got credit for how scratch and how authentic we were trying to be, from handmade tortillas every single shift. We had a tortilla lady in the back, and we need to be shouting that from the rooftop, right? We're making aguachile with a recipe straight from Jalisco. We're doing ceviche every single day. Everything is so fresh, so scratch. Now I'm blessed because we have those long-term employees. So when I go in and say, hey, I think we can do this better and more authentic, and then I can just go to them and say, what's your recipe? What's your mom's recipe? Let's take a look at it. Let's kind of compete inside the 4 walls and come up with the best thing possible. And then it's me kind of being the cheerleader, going back to the training part, right? Saying, no, we can do it. How many are we really going to sell in one day? 20, 30? Come on, we can make it fresh. We can do it the hard way because it's the right way.
Are each of the locations unique unto themselves? Are they different? Are they similar? Do they have a local focus?
Is absolutely similar. And I think our development guys have done a really good job at that. So we're not building ground up everywhere. We are, taking 2nd gen, 3rd gen restaurants in strip mall parking lots or kind of underserved communities and bringing a cantina to them. It's kind of what we were built on, right? We went into a restaurant row here in Dallas that nobody thought was great. And it's still one of our top performing stores. It's the flagship. It's unit number 1. And how do we take that same mindset and bring it everywhere? We've really kind of leaned in more towards that blue collar worker in a good way. So we're doing little touches throughout the entire building that points back to a lot of trade work, right? Whether it's cast iron piping around the bar as your kind of foot rail, the dividers for all of our communal seating are levels that drywallers use. Wheelbarrow in front is kind of the cigarette ashtray. And it started because that's just where our wheelbarrow that we used for construction on the first one got stuck and it just kind of made sense. So fill it with sand and let's move on.
See, I would call that a hook, and that's part of marketing as well. You know, those unique touches that the guests just kind of look at, it catches their attention and they remember it, and it's all part of the experience.
I think it adds to that authenticity without necessarily trying to club people over the head with it.
Nice. So you've got a corporate position, but it sounds like you travel to the locations as well. Are you doing that? And how are you maintaining consistency? Do you secret shop these stores? Like, tell me about your day-to-day role. It probably changes all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shoulder to shoulder is hard to beat, right? We have all this technology. We can do digital training. We can do stuff by Zoom, but really, I like getting in there, working shoulder to shoulder. I started as a dishwasher and worked my way up. I'm not leaving that, right?
Yeah.
Same with behind the bar, same thing. I want to go and shake some cocktails and pour some beers and ask the regulars how we're doing. What do they want? What's going on? I had the pleasure for, an opening in Chino, California. I was there during the Dodgers World Series run. Incredible vibe. And the staff was all having a good time too. So really hard to beat that person to person, one-on-one training, even though I have all the other trainers and we have some other layers there to your point on, it's a corporate position, but you got to be in your restaurants. It's the only way to make it work.
So you're rolling up your sleeves, you get behind the bar, you get in the kitchen. What do you do?
Eh,
All
Depends what's needed, right? And it's depending on kind of what will have the best impact to them to show that the people here at our office care and know their position, know the job that that person's doing, and that we really are there to support them. How do we make them succeed?
fantastic. That's excellent. Excellent. So there is no typical day, right? Do you spend a lot of time or what do you do when you're in corporate? I mean, are you thinking ahead, new menu planning, beverage programs, all of that? What does an overall typical day look like for you?
A lot of curveballs all day, every day, all week, 7 days a week. And it doesn't stop because I feel for these people that are in these positions, managers that are closing at 2 o'clock in the morning in California,
Yeah.
and they have a 911 and they need an answer like right now. My wife hates it because I'll sit there and answer them, but I'm like, hey, this manager deserves it.
Mm. That's called support behind the scenes. Wow, you're open late. Are all the locations open till 2 a.m.? Certain states
No, some
of that?
certain states and really by certain cities too, just kind of depends on the demographic and day part, really, right? So Mondays, maybe it's midnight. Other days it's going to be 2 a.m.
Sounds like a super fun place. The mugs you talk about, the 22-ounce mugs, are those for any guest or is there a formal mug club that you have in the stores?
Any guest. So we want to bring it to everybody, right? And we want that guy, the landscaper, the plumber, somebody that's sitting out there, HVAC guy that's been on a roof all day in the heat. Really good when you have a ice cold beer after a shift like that. And how do we deliver that every single time?
That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that are just catching your attention everywhere you look, and it's all part of the experience. You're definitely delivering experiences, not just serving food and drink, despite the high quality of your products. That's awesome. It's been great talking to you, Alex. Thank you so much for being a great guest on the show.
Thank you, Roger.
That was the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. Thanks, audience, for tuning in. Thanks, sponsors this week. Can't wait to see you all in the next episode. Stay well, stay tuned, and I'll see you then.